August 2020. Cast your mind back to January. Where did you think you'd be around this time of the year? Life has a way of interfering with our plans. Clearly then, this crisis shows that planning is impossible. Actually, this crisis shows that we need planning more than ever. Hi guys, welcome to Brand Friendly Thinking. If this is your first visit, on this channel I talk about how to come up with creative ideas for your business, how to adapt to change, and how to plan ahead in uncertain times. A lot of people don't like planning. They view planning as a chore to be done before the real action can start. Instead of planning, they want to go down to action. And to justify their beliefs, they often say some variant of, "No plan survives the first contact with the enemy force." And really, if we look at Dwight Eisenhower, who was in charge of the preparation and execution of D-Day, he said, "When preparing for battle, I often found that plans are quite useless. But," he continues, "but planning is essential." How is that possible? Well, where can we start? Before we talk about planning, it's important that you know about Ossentots. So, sit back, relax. This is a true story that happened to a lecturer of mine. Stephen Carver, an amazing teacher. Before he became a lecturer, he worked in oil industry, first as a project engineer and then as a project manager. When he was just new in his role as a project manager, his boss called him to his office and said, "What is the role of a project manager?" And Stephen, who had just finished his MBA, said, "The role of a project manager is to deliver a project on time, to budget and to specification." To which his boss replied, "Bullshit. The role of a project manager is to hunt Ossentots." Ossentots, sure. Stephen had just been through a whole MBA and he felt like, I must have missed that lesson. So his boss said, "So you know what an Ossentot is, right?" Yeah, sure, yeah, definitely." "Then tell me, Stephen, how do you kill Ossentots? With a pump gun?" "No, Stephen. We don't want Ossentots running around half wounded, spilling blood everywhere. You kill them with one nice shot from a quick hunting rifle." "And which Ossentots do you kill, Stephen? The adults?" "No, you take the young ones. Just when they peek out of their burrow for the first time and they take their first look at the mean, bad world out there. You take aim and you kill them with one clean headshot. Do you understand this?" Yeah, sure, of course." "Good. Oh, another thing. If I ever find a full-grown Ossentot in one of your projects, I will kill you." So at that point, Stephen left the office and he ran into a more experienced colleague outside and said, "I just had the most bizarre talk ever." The experienced colleague started laughing and he said, "So tell me, Stephen, how do you kill an Ossentot?" "Well, with a quick hunting rifle, we've just been through that." "But what's an Ossentot?" It turned out that Ossentot is an acronym for, "Oh shit, I never thought of that." So an important activity in project management as well as in life is finding and killing Ossentots before they're too big. But how do you do this? This is precisely where planning comes in. How so? If we think about a plan, we usually think of a list of action steps. First A, then B, then C. But this is just one meaning of the term plan. Here is another example of a plan. This is the piping plan of an air brake as it was used on trains at the beginning of the 20th century. As you can see, it shows all the important elements of the piping, such as pumps, brake valves, brake cylinders, gauges, and how they are connected with one another. Taking this piping plan, you can understand how the brake system works, and importantly, you can start to ask what-if questions. What if the steam supply to the pump gets blocked? What if the hose that connects the coaches gets cut? Using the piping plan, you can work out what happens, and based on that you can work out a series of steps that need to be taken to prevent any damage from occurring. Now the thing is, no matter what system you're dealing with, you can always create a schematic plan of the important elements and their connections. Your system might or might not be so easy, and it might or might not be so concrete. But even if you're the owner of a hotel, you can still create a systems plan that would contain such elements as quality perception of the customers, where the customers go for the holidays, or the running costs of your business. And by creating the system schematic and asking and answering what-if questions, you get to know your system much better. You start to know what are the elements that, should they change, have a big negative impact or positive impact on my business, on my life. And you also see what are the disturbances from the outside that can affect these elements. And really, if we think back a couple of months ago, this is exactly what happened. A lot of people never worked from home for a longer period of time. Many parents never thought about homeschooling before. Many businesses never thought about having to manage a distributed team. So everybody wanted to perform, while at the same time they had to get to know the new systems under which they needed to work. And that adds a lot of stress. If, for the important parts of our lives, we frequently ask ourselves, what if this factor changes? What if this element breaks down? We get into the habit of thinking about our system from different points of view. And then, should the need arise, we can very quickly reprioritize and come up with a new plan of action, which we can then implement. And this is why it is so important to plan, even though the plan itself very often needs to be chucked out of the window. It gets us into the position that we're able to replan and reshuffle as needed, and so we can still continue to pursue our long-term goals. After some time, you will even surprise yourself by coming up with creative solutions for problems that have been bugging you for a long time. The reason for that is that a better understanding, that a deeper knowledge of the system enables us to be more creative. If this sounds strange to you, I made a complete video explaining just this. And if you're interested, you can click right here. Otherwise, please high five the like button, and until next time, keep thinking.